cageminds.com. We're at FIT NHB. We have Steve Hanna with us. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to New Mexico. A Colorado transport, now coming down here, gonna make home at FIT NHB, and you got some exciting news for everybody about that too, right?
Yes, I'm super pumped. Starting July 14th, I'm gonna be running a gi program here at FIT every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at noon. So gi is a lot of fun. I'm hoping to get a big following for that. Should be a great class.
Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, how long have you been doing it for?
I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-jitsu since the end of 2006.
And then who were you training under?
I earned my brown belt under Chris Jones from Durango Martial Arts Academy in Durango, Colorado.
And that's where you're currently at right now as a brown belt?
Yes.
So then for you, what do you do to, now that you're taking over your own program, what does that do for you to advance still to get a black belt?
Essentially, it sort of halts my progression until I go back and train with my original instructor who's a black belt, because you have to train with a black belt to get promoted to a black belt.
So what is it like for you taking on this task of your own program?
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone here is really dedicated, works really hard, so I'm excited to be able to work with everyone here.
So Colorado born and raised, right?
Yes, sir. I'm from a little town called Bayfield, Colorado.
So mountains, figuring water,
Mountains,
different climates, there's a winter.
Water, big winters, lots of farmland, not much else.
So you've been down here already for a little bit. What do you think of the scorching heat?
You know, the first week I was here, it was borderline unbearable. I finally feel like I've adapted and used to it. I just had to up my water intake a bit, but it's definitely warm.
And then how long was this move in the making? Why move south?
I've been thinking about moving for probably 2 years. I made up my mind about a year ago that I had to be here at FIT after I spent a little time training here and just saw what a great program they had. Everyone here is good, the coaching program is great. I just knew this is where I had to be. It took me about a year to get all my ducks in a row, get everything in order before I could actually make it down here for good.
So being down here for the Chitty and Chickawani camp is what I'm figuring, right?
Yes, sir.
So what happened in that time here that really, you just clicked with these guys so much? What was it?
Well, first thing is I just saw the level here was really, really high. And like I said, I felt like I kind of hit my ceiling back home a little bit, where I was kind of the top dog a little bit, and then I could come here and get beat up and get pushed, and that's what I need to progress. And then on top of that, I saw how amazing the coaching staff here was. They do a really wonderful job. There's a lot of people here, so there's never a shortage of people to train with, which is an issue I've dealt with back in Colorado. And everyone comes in and is dedicated and works hard. So I knew I'd fit in on that front.
So then, as far as Steve the fighter, what's the hopes and expectations from him? I believe the last fight for you was in January, got back in the win column. What are you looking for?
At this point, I'm just looking to get fights. I'll fight whoever they offer me. Ultimately, my goal is to be a champion. I suppose everyone that fights wants to be a champion someday. My short-term goal now is make it to the big leagues, make it to the UFC, so get some wins under my belt, hopefully get that call, and then progress from there and help the other guys along on my way.
I've been having a debate on another show I do recently with the host of the show on the DC Life, and we've been thinking, is there a tide turning in the waters between the UFC and Bellator? Is Bellator catching up to them? Is it more of a thought of getting to the big leagues, or is it still more of a focus for a lot of guys in the regional like yourself? The UFC is still that goal.
You know, I think it kind of depends who you're talking to. I think the more educated somebody is in the fight game, the more they'll tell you that Bellator, UFC, World Series of Fighting, it's all the big leagues. And I feel like the more casual of a fan, the more it's UFC or kind of nothing. To me, it's all the big leagues, and I'd be happy to go to any promotion that wants to have me. But ultimately, I think the best competition right now is in the UFC, and at some point, that's who I'd like to test myself against, is the best.
Testing yourself against the best will be a big challenge. You took on a big challenge moving out here. What were the thoughts in your head about the move, and then also, getting your own program started here in the gym?
Well, about the move, FIT NHB has a perfect motto for kind of my mentality for this, and that's whatever it takes. So that's literally what I did, was just sold everything I had, gave up everything I knew, and just got down here at any cost. Once I was here, I'm kind of struggling a little financially. I just sort of up and knew I had to be here and got here, and I didn't even plan to run a gi program or anything of that nature, and these guys have been so accommodating and helpful ever since I got here. It's Coach Tom Vaughn proposed the idea to me to run a gi program. I was super into it, so we've just been in talks back and forth since then and made it happen.
And then from you, starting back in 2006, what made you fall in love with jiu-jitsu?
Honestly, I had a growth spurt. I shot up about a foot, started lifting weights, felt like I was a pretty tough guy, went into Durango Martial Arts Academy, got folded into a pretzel by every single person there. But then I knew that stuff really works. Guys littler than me, guys bigger than me, didn't matter. We're just tooling me, and I knew that works. I got to learn it.
How awkward is it hitting a growth spurt of a foot in a year? You must have bought clothes and like, shit, this doesn't fit the next morning.
It was a little different. I was just pumped that I finally grew. I was sick of being the little guy my whole life.
So what was that like to be Captain America, go from that transformation, the little guy to, whoa, I'm as big as everybody now?
Honestly, it's not that much different. I was always a person who will stick up for the little guy anyways. I'm still that same dude. So I just have a little more backing me at this point.
What would you say is your highlight thus far of your jiu-jitsu career?
Boy, I guess being awarded my brown belt's probably my favorite accomplishment. That's something that's tangible that I can hold on to and I can show to people. But aside from that, I've got a lot of submissions under my belt on some big name people and some really high ranking grapplers out there in both MMA and just jiu-jitsu.
And then just overall, what's your favorite submission to hit?
My favorite one to hit is probably the twister. The one I hit the most often is probably the triangle.
So what is it about your game that sets up the triangle?
Well, one thing I do a lot is I trick people into coming toward me. So I do a lot of standing up from guard, getting people to hold me down, which sort of lets them walk into my game. Whereas if you sort of attack at someone, it's kind of easy for them to stay away, control that space.
Talked about coming to the gym, never a shortage of training partners and of high-level training partners. What's some of the things that you set goals on, working on, and improving in your game?
I want to get better at everything. I literally don't have like one specific thing I want to improve at. My goal every single day is to get 1% better than I was the day before, because at the end of a year, that's a lot better than I started at the beginning of the year.
And then we've been talking jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu. So when did you transition to the MMA realm?
I took my first MMA fight about 3.5 years after I started training jiu-jitsu. And my first year and a half, 2 years doing jiu-jitsu, I was really, really bad. I was probably the worst student we'd ever had at Durango Martial Arts, but also just really determined. I'm the type of person who's very stubborn. I'll stick with something until I get what I want.
So now, how many years has the MMA training been going total?
I've been doing MMA now probably 5 or 6 years.
In that time, how far do you feel you've evolved and where do you feel you're at as a complete mixed martial artist?
I definitely don't feel like I'm anywhere near being complete, but I've evolved so much. If me now could fight me from 2 years ago, I could probably beat me with no hands. I've really grown a lot.
And then, what's the most unexpected thing you learned about yourself during this time as a martial artist?
I suppose I'm tougher than I ever gave myself credit for. I can take some damage and still be willing to stay in there and keep fighting.
And
Not
then,
that that's a good game plan to have, but it's a skill that when it happens, it's important.
And then out of, I believe it's 7 pro fights now, do you have a favorite one?
I actually have 9 pro fights. 2 of them, for some reason, are not listed online, and I've contacted them and they won't put them online for some reason.
Blame the promoters for not sending in the right results or paperwork.
My favorite fight?
Yeah, did you have a favorite fight or moment from a fight?
I guess my favorite fight is my Njokwani fight. You know, even though it didn't go how I wanted, I proved a lot to myself in that fight. I proved a lot to a lot of people in that fight. And even though I lost the decision, I earned a lot of respect in that, just by showing my heart, by hanging tough, by never giving up.
So if you could sum it up for us, how do you feel about the new relationship, Steve Hanna here at FIT NHB?
I feel right at home here. I love it. I'm super pumped to be a part of what they're going on here. The program here is great, and I'm really happy and proud to be able to call myself a part of it.
And then one last time, your program is going to be when?
My program is going to begin July 14th. It'll be every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at noon, and it'll complement Professor Thomas Schulte's Nogi Grappling, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at, I believe, 12:30. So he's also a very accomplished MMA fighter and grappler, so I'm really excited to be working with him as well.
And then who else did you have to shout out and thank? Because I bet there's a bunch of people.
The whole FIT NHB Wild Bunch team, every single one of you guys, I love you guys. And of course, the great coaching staff, Joe Blake, John Judy, Tom Vaughn, Arlene, all you guys. If there's anyone I forgot, I'm really sorry, but the whole Wild Bunch.
Thank you for the time, Steve
Thank you.
Hanna.